Welcome, everybody. 6 people. I'm curious to know how many people are actually going to tune into this. I was just kind of bored and made dinner, so figured I'd jump on. I got my shirt all dirty. I was messing with my chickens. So now I'm back inside. Shout out to everybody that made it this late evening. Most of my YouTube audience is from around like noon, I've noticed. That's like my peak YouTube traffic. So I usually try and stream at noon, but today I just felt like doing one for why not? Good to have you guys in here. King J, shout out. Yeah. I used to do more late night streams back when I lived in California, but I haven't done them for a little while. Now that things are heating up, it's exciting. Let's wait for more people to roll in here. Come with your questions equipped. If you have any charts you want covered, whatever it may be. Maddie C, what's up, my friend? It's good to have you guys a part of the group. I was looking at a few charts a second ago, but I'll wait for more people to roll in here. I could have gave you guys a little bit of a head start. Normally I wait an hour before I start. I'll like post the stream and then wait for everybody to go over for the course of an hour, but we're not going to do that. All right, we're getting some comments in here. PopCat. We'll drop some PopCat analysis here shortly. Let's see. Saved by the Blood 2020. I'm assuming you bought the dip. I'll look at Tailcoin for sure. Yo, Blake, what's good, my friend? It's good to have you part of the group. He's one of my good followers, been here for a long time, and he's inside of my private group, so shout out to you, Blake. Honestly, I've been following him for a long time. I remember him from the last cycle back in the Chainlink days, so it's been like 5 years at this point, so shout out to you, Blake. I appreciate the support, my friend. Thanks you. I appreciate it, Gingerbread Man. It feels a lot better not to have long hair, I got to admit. I don't think I'm going to go back to it. But I think the only reason I was back to it was just because I was too lazy to get a haircut. But I don't think I'm going to go back to that. I'm going to quit being lazy. I'm going to keep my hair short, clean, because that's what makes money. Yes. Hit the like button, please. Tailcoin and Link. I just made a good Link chart not too long ago. We'll go into that. Should I swap my PulseX for Ink or Pulse? That's a tough one. I don't really think you can go wrong 50-50, but if you're trying to go full degen, I'd probably just go Ink because I think it'll probably pump harder, but you never know. I mean, realistically, if Pulse does 100x, I'd be kind of surprised if Ink doesn't outperform it. When's up only season? Man, I'm waiting for it too. Probably when they cut rates, if they cut him. We might just see the market instantly start teleporting. All righty, let's see. Early 2021. Yeah, see? You've been around for a long time at this point. Crypto years, 4 years is a long time. I've been in crypto for 9 years, so I'm surprised my hair's not gray. I mean, I think I skipped the gray and it's going white. Not all that stress. How do you think Doge will go? I'll have to pull up the chart. I'm not 1000% sure. Let's go jump into some things real quickly. What platform am I buying Pulse on? PulseX. You could use Pateus or Pateus. That's a DEX aggregator. It's a 1-inch fork, so it just scours all of the DEXs at the same time to find you the best rate. But I mean, I think PulseX is just the staple and will probably give you the best liquidity no matter what. So that's where I would go. 808 Buddha, shout out. It's good to have you in here. You're one of my longtime supporters, and I really do appreciate it. Came in at the top and have only ever seen darkness. I think that's everybody's first initial experience when they get into crypto. I mean, I got lucky and got in at the bottom of 2016, so I'm fortunate as far as that goes. But when I got into it, I didn't even know what I was doing. So, you know, you might have a grand opportunity in front of you, but the idea that you're actually going to be able to capitalize on that fully, generally it takes a second cycle. Sometimes it's 3. Sometimes it's 4. Some people have been here and have never made a profit, and they're just still wondering why they're even here at this point. You watching much in the Avalanche ecosystem? Sometime you'll have to let me pull you in on some small caps. Yeah, for sure. Message me. I'm on Discord, and I'll check them out. Honestly, I haven't. I've never bridged. I don't think I've bridged to AVAX. I've added the network, and I've messed around and looked at some stuff, but I don't believe I've actually, I take that back. I did one time. That was the only reason I went over there, was to swap for a coin. And I don't remember anything. I'll have to look and see if that thing even exists, because I really am not sure. It's been a while. But yeah, drop me some good ones. I'll check them out. Zenith, good to have you in here, my friend. Me and him hung out at the PulseChain conference in Vegas. He's a good guy. PulseX liquidity is basically 10x. Yeah, exactly. You always just want to go with PulseX if you're going to try and find one, to be honest. You still working in the gas field? No. Honestly, I haven't been out there. When was that? That wasn't even that long ago. That was like the bottom of the bear market. I was like pretty much completely tapped out of cash. There was nothing left. And so I was going to have to start selling my crypto at pretty much the bottom of the cycle. And I was like, nope, I'm going to go get a job before I do that. So that was the last time I did that. I think that was probably was 2023. Because it wasn't in the bottom of the bear market of 2022, but it was like when we were just barely starting to go up and everything was pretty much dead. It was right around there. Beers, I like this guy even more now. Yeah, for sure. Cracking a cold one with the boys and a few women. There's not many of them that watch my channel. My analytics are 94.5% male. So the few women that are out there, shout out to you guys, because there really isn't very many of them. And you guys are going to be the breadwinners of your family, or future families if you're not already married or in a relationship. People saying $6.80 XRP max this bull run. I mean, my target's $28, so I'm still kind of sticking to that same thing. I don't see why $6.80. I mean, that's only like 100% into new all-time highs. I would imagine at least hits $10, but we'll just have to see. My target's $28. I still think that it can hit that target. Nothing's really changed in my belief around there. Is there a video on how to buy and sell Pulse? Yeah, I'm going to make one. Man, what's today? Tuesday. I got to go pick up my girlfriend from the airport tomorrow evening. So tomorrow's going to be my only day to upload. I'm going to be gone for I'm not going to be making a video until Monday, because I'm going to be gone until Friday. I'm not going to get back home Friday until probably fairly late. And then Friday, I'm not going to upload Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. So I'm not going to really be back here until Monday. If I make the video, it's going to be tomorrow on, talking about PulseChain and how to buy the stuff. But I don't know if I'm going to make that video tomorrow. I said this week, but then I forgot that I had to drive to Salt Lake and do all of that stuff. So I'm going to have to go to Salt Lake. I'm going to have to go to Cheyenne, Wyoming. I'm going to be back and forth a few different places. So I'm not 1,000% sure. 94%, that's really good. I think DRT is 97%. Yeah, well, I think it's the blonde hair. They feel a little bit more inclined to click on my videos. No, I'm just kidding. Real sausage fest in here. Hey, that's the facts right there. First time catching me live. Hey, I appreciate it, Ronnie. It's good to have you in here. What's the square? Is that an emoji that's not popping up for some reason? I don't know what that means. So are you pulling out all before January 2026? I mean, it really depends on what the market structure looks like. If the whole market's just in new all-time highs going vertical, then yeah, because you don't have a reference point anymore. And what I've learned is you're better off selling a little bit too early. Because, I mean, if you're still selling in Q4 of the end of the cycle, early is relative. But if you're still selling in that period, especially when the market's in new all-time highs, you're not really going to go wrong. And so you're better off selling when the market's at its peak, when we see euphoria. And we know what euphoria looks like. I mean, it's very obvious. The last cycle in this, okay, so not the last cycle, like last year, the end of, it would have been the end of 2024, beginning of 2025, when the market was kind of up and everything was bouncing and ripping really hard. I mean, all we saw was meme coins, and it was the stupidest meme coins that would be up thousands of % in return. And it didn't really matter which one. They were all just kind of going off on every chain. That's what euphoria looks like. So we're really just analyzing those same sort of emotions. If the market's in new all-time highs, it's going parabolic. We're seeing all of the euphoric signs. NFTs in the last cycle were kind of like peak euphoria in a lot of ways. People buying, monkey pictures for hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars. Those are the type of things you're looking for when you're knowing or understanding when to take profits. So, we haven't seen that yet. We have seen the meme coins, but I kind of look at the top of the cycle. We're going to see some funny stuff going on. So it's just kind of a matter of like, the time frames are there, understanding that Q4 at the end of the year is a cycle top period, knowing the 4-year cycle, but then also just watching the price action as well, because we can see, I mean, technically it could run into February or March of 2026. There's nothing that says it can't, but if it's just in vertical price discovery, I think you're better off just selling in January. Excuse me. XRP cycle low at 28 cents. So $28 would be 100x target. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I've had the same target since the last cycle. So I'm still sticking to the same thing. It's just taking an extra cycle to get to the point where it broke out. CCUL just wiped out XRP's use case. I'd say buying Ripple stock when they IPO would likely be a better move than bagging XRP. I mean, honestly, the price of XRP is definitely going to outperform the stock, but I don't think it's a bad idea to buy some stock too, if that's the case. It's just that, I mean, if you've been buying XRP when we were, it's significantly more upside to buy XRP than it is to invest into the IPO. And it's kind of the same thing. It's like, why would you buy MicroStrategy when you could just buy the real thing in Bitcoin? I mean, like, yeah, I guess if you got a 401k, but now you can even just buy Bitcoin with the 401k. I'm pretty sure that's a thing now. So I just don't even understand why anybody would buy a stock of something when there's a coin that exists, because that the hype is driven not around the stock market. The hype's driven around the coin. And that's all that matters. So I'm not really too big on the whole stock use case for things, because it's just a quick cash grab. And if anything, the stock going up just fuels the price of the coin to go up even further. So I'm always a coin person any day of the week, because they always outperform. But there is periods where they don't. And, if we see the IPO go live, XRP is worth $10 per coin, then yeah, obviously the better buy is going to be the stock. But it's all relative, right? Where we were buying it, obviously it was a better buy inside of just the price or in the coin of XRP. Yeah, I did have long hair. It was really long, and now it's all gone. Yo, what's up, Steven? Good to have you in here. Realistic price target for ETH, $20,000. Realistic, I mean, I think 20,000 is realistic. If I had to go like a lesser target, 10. I think 10's for sure, but I'm going 20. Thanks, bro. You're the only one I pay attention to. Had to delete all the others because they're so emotional driven. That's the issue with all analysts for the most part. What I've noticed is most people don't have it's not even a thorough understanding. It's that they don't trust themselves enough to like stick to a belief and kind of trade that. So they're kind of like just out there at the whim of, the market's volatility doing whatever. So realistically, I don't watch anybody on YouTube. Literally, I do not. Well, Bob Lucas, but you guys know that. I don't even count Bob Lucas because he's the one where I learned so much in 2018. He was the first course I ever paid for. Watching all of his content back in those days taught me the 4-year cycles. Because of the 4-year cycles, I'm able to make money today. And there's just nothing else that's been as accurate as that is up to this point. So for me, it's like, what's the point of following so many people? If you feel comfortable and confident in your own decisions, then following somebody else is only going to make you, like create mistakes in your own trading plan. So I never follow anybody. I do follow people on Twitter, and I love to see different content on Twitter, and I don't have a problem with that. But I'm not really like, trading it or like buying into the ideas. It's all just speculation for the most part. When I got in, you could throw a dart, pick any coin, and you'd be up 2x the next day. Yeah. When I got in 2016, you could have literally bought anything. It didn't matter what it was. Everything pumped super hard in 2017. You just had to have understood cycles, which back in those days, I actually didn't really understand that well. Versus the following cycle, I understood really well. And then that was kind of like a really small altcoin pump. Still made a lot of really good money off of it, but I think this cycle has the potential to be a little bit more euphoric. that 4-year cycle might be broken. It's definitely not broken because if you look at where here's the thing with the 4-year cycle. You analyze the 4-year cycle from peak low to peak low. The highs are the thing that shifts. We bottomed 4 years from the last cycle low, which was 4 years from the last cycle low, which was 4 years from the last cycle low. So for the last decade, we've perfectly followed this. To say it's dead is pretty ignorant in my opinion, just because of the fact there's nothing that has broken the 4-year cycle trend. Even if we peak at the beginning of this next year, say February or March, it still doesn't change anything because the 4-year cycle, there's left and right translations. So if we peaked later into 2026, it presents the opportunity for us to be going into a left translated cycle, which would mean Bitcoin peaks early into a 4-year cycle instead of 3 years up. It's like 1.5 years to 2 years up. That up happens in a really quick manner, more of a blow off top. And then that is where we actually do end the 4-year cycle. The only way the 4-year cycle ends is if we have a left translated cycle. And if you don't know what a left translated cycle is, you should go back and watch my last live stream because I explained it in pretty great detail. But that's the only thing that's what makes the 4-year cycle shift, is understanding where we're peaking, whether it's on the right side of the mid-range or whether it's on the left side of the mid-range. And every time we peak on the right side, the trend basically, what it means is that the trend is most likely to continue in the same way. Every cycle has been a right translated cycle. And every cycle, we continue to follow a new 4-year cycle. So that's just the trend that happens. However, if we peak early or if we peak late into this cycle, we eat into the following bear market that's projected to be in 2026, then that does open up the very real potential of a left translation. And then to your point, after that, then the 4-year cycle would be broken. So you're watching for the left translation to kind of give that confirmation. So, we followed a right translation throughout this cycle. I mean, we're 3.5 years or 2.5 years up. Yeah, 2.5 years up so far. So everything is right translated up to this point. The only thing that's going to shift that is, like I said, if we end up kind of running into 2026, basically like a month or two into that month or into that year. I have doubts that the NFT market will perform like it did last cycle. The space looks very dead currently. Yeah, I mean, you say that until, hold on, I'll share with you guys a chart. If we come over here, wait, how do I share my screen? Okay. I'll show you a chart that pretty much just proves why I think that's false. I mean, I bought a CryptoPunk, so I really believe in the NFT market. My profile picture is a CryptoPunk. I think CryptoPunks are for sure about to have a big rally. And if you look at CryptoPunks against the price of ETH, see this chart right here? I've seen this chart 3 different times, and I've traded it 3 different, well, I didn't trade gold, but we're going to look at it real quick. So the first chart is gold. If you look at gold, over the course of its it was a huge correction. Yeah. I'm going to go to a 2-month time frame to see it. Okay, see this right here? See this pattern? Okay. See that? And then we're also going to take a look at Bitcoin in the 2018 bear market. This is all the same fractal. There's literally no difference. There's not a difference in the world. This is the same market cycle fractal that we've seen on multiple different asset classes. Some of them are more volatile than others, but they all show the same thing. Top, top, top. Then you get these lows, these rejections. Oh, I'm drawing it wrong. Either way, same thing. You guys are getting the point. But then here's the thing. Breaks down, fake out, rounded bottom, moon. Fake out, rounded bottom, moon. Fake out, rounded bottom, moon. It's the same fractal. The difference is this fractal is valued not against dollars, but against Ethereum. So when we're looking at CryptoPunks, this is the exact same fractal. It's the same market cycle, same pattern we see across many different asset classes. It's just that for whatever reason, CryptoPunks against Ethereum is completing this same pattern. So where I think that we're at, we're literally right here. We're literally at the very beginning of this run for CryptoPunks. the peak all-time high in the last cycle was 144 ETH. I think that this thing can easily hit 200 ETH. 200 ETH floor price could very easily go even higher than that. I don't know. But my belief and the reason why I bought a CryptoPunk was because at one time I had a certain amount of Ethereum. Let's just say, I don't need to give out specifics, but I had a certain amount of Ethereum at one time because I bought most of my Ethereum at $350 in the last cycle, right before everything ran. Made a bunch of money, had a bunch of cash, dumped all of it into Ethereum, and then Ethereum went like 35x. So from the peak of that cycle, I remember how many Ethereum I had, and I've traded them around and I moved them in different places and I've bought new things. And I remember sitting there thinking, basically at the beginning of this cycle, man, what can I buy? Like I had a certain amount of Ethereum left over, and I thought, man, what could I buy that is going to make my entire Ethereum stack back again that I could just sit on and hold? What is going to outperform Ethereum? What is my Ethereum hedge so I can make more Ethereum? And the belief I came to was that the CryptoPunks were going to be the thing that outperformed it, and I was going to be able to make more of my Ethereum back. So I bought one, and then that was kind of my hedge. I was like, well, if ETH has a new cycle, I believe the CryptoPunks are going to outperform it. So I kind of went with that scenario. But I mean, when you look at all of the other NFT charts, they look really, really bullish in my opinion. There's a lot of really good stuff to look at over here. The Pudgy Penguins, these guys have been blowing up this entire cycle. Nothing but an uptrend against Ethereum. The dollar pair, same thing. It's even more impulsive. Pudgy Penguins have really taken off. Bored Apes, I mean, obviously they're still way, way, way low. But look at all this volume, and the price is pretty much stabilized. It's held support. This is no different than any altcoin chart that you're looking at today. I mean, look at the price of PulseChain. I mean, there's really not much of a difference between this chart and that. So the idea that NFTs aren't also going to run with the broader market, I think that that's just false. But that's also why I think that once you see NFTs run, sell everything, because that's kind of a warning signal, right? That shows that there's a lot of euphoria, because if you're buying this, you're spending this much money on these silly images, then, realistically, you're probably going to get screwed. All right, let's see. Let's go. You got chickens too? Yes, sir. I got like 50 of them at least. I have a lot of chickens. I got game fowl, though. They're not normal chickens. I get too many eggs, though, that's for sure. But mine have all actually started to stop laying. So they're molting. They quit laying eggs for the most part in the molt. Of course, these are game fowl, so they're a little bit more like a wild version of a chicken. I don't know what laying hens do in the molt, whether they keep laying or whether they just stop. But I know for a fact my game hens quit laying, and they start losing their feathers. They molt, and then they'll start laying again here, probably around like January. Well, where I live, it's pretty cold, so probably not even January. Unless you put lights on them, unless you have heat on them, then it'll stay fairly cold, and they won't lay until spring when it starts warming up, once that sun comes back in. So that's why so many people put lights on them and then incubate them, just to make sure that they're doing what they're doing. Let's see. What up? Love your channel. What type of multiples can C make this run? I mean, I bought Cardano at $1.5 billion in market cap in the last cycle, and I'm pretty sure that went up 65x from my entry. So, I mean, depending on where you bought it, I think that could do the same. But realistically, I wouldn't be surprised if it was able to do 100x. C Network is kind of basically cementing themselves as being a premier layer one this cycle, and they have a lot of adoption. There's a ton of TVL blowing up over there, a lot of new volume. So it's really taken off in a big way. It's hard to predict that type of stuff, but it would 1.8 bill market cap, 180 bill market cap would be 100x. That's a really high market cap, but there was a few cryptos that hit over 100 billion in market cap in the last cycle. So the idea that there can't be another 20 at the peak of this next bull market, I think it's definitely a possibility, but I'd say 50x for sure. In 2017, Bitcoin went from 10K to 20K in 2 weekly candles. That was the end. Exactly. We can see things get really parabolic quickly, and I think that can also be the case right here. Don't you think laddering out makes more sense when you don't know where the top is? Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that at all. I trade based off the 4-year cycle. So realistically, I'm just targeting the end of the year. So I'm just going to hold until that. But if the market's just straight parabolic, everything's just new all-time highs, then yeah, it's not a bad idea to take some profits, even if you're sitting there November, maybe the end of October. I don't know what it's going to look like exactly, but it's never a bad idea. If you're selling in Q4 and the market's in new all-time highs and the market's going parabolic, you're going to do all right. You're going to be fine. Even if you miss out on some gains, it doesn't matter, because the opportunities that come in the bear market, you'll be really pissed at yourself that you didn't. And that's just always the case. Do you say 20K ETH partly due to all the companies trying to buy up and stake supply? I mean, it's not necessarily a fundamental thing. It's just that I look at the chart and I think that ETH can hit 20K. And if we're talking ETH hitting the same fib targets as what Bitcoin did in the last cycle, which I've been comparing the ETH structure to, it would basically be like 17,500, I believe, is the exact like ratio. So, 20K. But yeah, I mean, that's definitively a good reason. I mean, we really are seeing institutional FOMO to an extent, and they are copying the Michael Saylor micro strategy approach. That's kind of a tongue twister. I can't even do it. Say Michael Saylor. All right, I'm not even going to say it. I'm going to let you guys say it and see if you can. But yeah, they're copying Michael Saylor, and they're doing it with ETH. And I think that more institutions are going to look to do that. And in fact, what's to say they don't start doing it with Solana, right? We're going to see ETH run, and then it's a trickle down effect. Everybody's going to want to FOMO somewhere. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they start doing it into an XRP or a Solana or, one of the bigger coins like that that's a little bit more established. I think it's a possibility for sure. Bob Lucas sold at 78K. LOL. Yeah, I know. He got a little bit bear trapped on himself. But hey, if you look at what that guy's portfolio is worth from the beginning of when I first started following him in 2018, the dude's really, really good. So even though he made one mistake there, he's already made so much profit and he buys back in. That's the thing. It's not like he's just sitting on the same stack. Like, he's compounding and he's growing. So yeah, that's about the only mistake I've seen him make the entire cycle, actually, or the entire 2 cycles. So, whatever. That's pretty good in my opinion. You're really an OG. I've been following you for a very good number of years, and it's been a good ride. God bless you, bro. God bless you too, Joshua. I really appreciate the support. It means a lot. How did you find or hear about PulseChain? I had a girlfriend who sacrificed for it. So I was living in LA. I had a girlfriend at the time. She sacrificed for it. She got really, really bought into Hex and PulseChain and PulseX and all of that stuff. Liquid loans at the time, even though that's gone to nothing. So there was like all this hype around that. And she said, please just put $10,000 into the sacrifice for Pulse. You got so much money. Just do that one thing for me. So I did. And I'm pretty sure I'm down like 70%. I don't know exactly what. I haven't even checked the wallet once. I have it written down somewhere. I have to pull it up one day. But yeah, I mean, ever since then, I had the position. But then, when was it? It would have been at the very bottom. So like the listing pump for PulseChain happened. I'll just go look at the chart real quick. WPLS. And I'll show you guys exactly when I started covering it on YouTube and whatnot. So with PulseChain, I sacrificed for it. This isn't the right one. So I sacrificed for Pulse. Is this the one? I don't know if this is it. Yeah, this will work. Okay, so I sacrificed, and then you had this big dump that happened. It was right here that I started covering PulseChain, because I remembered I had some because I sacrificed. So I just pulled up the chart one day and I could see that it looked bottomed right here. And I figured that it was going to make a pump. And so then that was when I really started covering it. And so even though it ended up making another low, and this entire thing just ended up being a long-term, like a B, and a C correction, I started covering it over here because I thought the chart looked good. And then that was when I came over. I started listening to other people, started talking to some of the community members, started to get a little bit more bought into the idea around it. And then ever since then, I've actually, I mean, I have a lot of confidence PulseChain is going to do well. So at this point, it's more than just a, you know, oh, I sacrificed. Oh, I'm just going to see what happens, trying to pump my bags. Like, I really think this thing can perform really well. And I like the chart too. I mean, it reminds me of the first cycle of XRP. The history is short to make that conclusion on 4 years. The amount of data would make a scientist laugh. Would you explain BTC hitting all-time highs before the halving cycle? I mean, if we really want to get into the long term with Bitcoin, it's so simple with 4-year cycles. It really is. The halving is literally nothing. The halving means literally nothing. It's the biggest nothing burger that exists in crypto. It's such an overblown conclusion that means quite literally nothing. You know, don't get me wrong. Back in the early days, talking pre-2016, Bitcoin halvings meant something. But the idea that the supply shock for miners means anything when there's already nothing that exists for the supply for people to buy, when one token is worth $20,000+, halvings are stupid. I'm just telling you guys that right now. That is a dead narrative. It means nothing. People focus on it for no reason because it doesn't actually have a fundamental driver of value. If we want to look at the long term of crypto, Bitcoin running into a new all-time high in 805 days was the fastest that it ever made a new all-time high, for sure. There's no doubt about that. But once again, that doesn't matter because the cycle hasn't topped yet. So I mean, it doesn't really change the long term. Like, everything has stayed pretty much the exact same. Because if we're looking, you measure a cycle or a 4-year cycle from peak low to peak low, not the tops. Ignore the tops. Quit focusing on the run. That's not what matters. It's the bottom that matters. Everybody's always so focused on the bull part, and that's just the least important thing. So if we look at the 4-year cycle, you're analyzing from peak low to peak low, peak low to peak low. The distance in between is 4 years. 4 years is 1,450 days, 1,428 days, 1 month off. 1,428 days, 1 month off, right? So we've been following the same trend. Now, the way that you understand whether we're going to keep following the same 4-year cycle is based off of the mid-range point. So what the mid-range point is half of the distance of the 4-year trend. So 1,450 days. What is half of 1,450 days? 725. So you draw 725 days over. Right about there. I'm on a weekly, so we're not going to get it perfect. We're going to make this yellow. This is the mid-range point. This is how you determine whether a cycle is left or right translated. What side of the mid-range point does the market cycle peak on? Here's the mid-range. What side is this? This is the right side. Everybody hold up your right hand. This is a right translated cycle. Okay, well, let's do the same thing for our last cycle. 725 days over. This gives us our mid-range point. Where did the top of the cycle peak? Was it on the left side of the mid-range or was it on the right side of the mid-range? Even the 65K top was on the left side. So it doesn't matter which top you're drawing. Both of them were on the right side. So that's a right translated cycle. When we have a right translated cycle, the most likely scenario is that you continue to follow the same trend, aka 3 years up, 1 year down, 4 years from the last cycle low, 4-year cycles. And that's exactly what we've done. Once again, where did we bottom at the end of this cycle? Oh, wow, exactly 4 years from the last bottom, which was exactly 4 years from the last bottom. Okay, so what's broken about this? I don't know, but here we go. Now we're into this cycle, right? So now we're going to go 725 days over. And this is going to give us our mid-range point. We're going to draw a line. Now, we're going to go 4 years from our cycle low, which was November of 2022. We're going to go 1,450 days. Keep in mind, all of the prior cycles have been 1428, so I could draw it right here, but 4 years is technically 1450. So I'm going to draw it out all the way just because. So then we're going to draw that point. Now, this is where we're at in the current cycle. I'm going to go and remove these drawing tools real quick so it doesn't get confusing for anybody. And we're just going to focus on this current cycle because this is all that matters. So you were talking about the 805-day mark, which was right here when we went into a new all-time high. So at this time, if you were watching my channel back then, all we were talking about was left translated cycles because the mid-range point was here. And we were way behind or way before that mid-range. And because we were already at this all-time high, if I draw a line at the all-time high, we literally were right there and we were rocketing. This was all of the ETF news. All of the ETFs were getting approved. All of the institutional money was here. Michael Saylor was buying Bitcoin, taking out more loans, issuing more stocks to cover their Bitcoin purchases. There was all of the institutional hype in the world. And throughout that time, Bitcoin was ripping and it went to a new all-time high. It went to $74,000, above the $69,500 threshold. And throughout that time, I was saying, guys, there is a very real potential that this is a left translated cycle, that we're going to end up running into a new all-time high, and we're going to run and peak on the left side of the mid-range point, right? That was all we were talking about. But what happened the second that we hit this all-time high? Did we break out? No, we literally rejected and went sideways for 8 months. And then what happened? Oh, where is the mid-range? Right here. Where are we at now? The right side of the mid-range. Even if this keeps going up, where are we at? The right side of the mid-range. So we're still following just the exact same trend. And the halving is obsolete. I'm not even talking about the halving because it quite literally means nothing. It literally means nothing. There's very few people that are mining profitably. It takes so much to be able to mine 6 Bitcoin at this point, or whatever it is, 3. I think it's 6 1/4 or 3. Anyways, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the long-term trend. And so let's look at what's happening now. Okay. Let's assume that we're going to run. Let's say the Bitcoin runs to 200K, right? The end of the year, big 200K run. And then we peak and we start that next major bear market decline, right? We're going to be looking for that 1-year bear market. Same thing that's happened here. Same thing that happened here. We're looking for that. However, what I present you and what Bob Lucas has shown, if the market runs, let's say we run to 200K and then we peak, right? Or actually, hold on. So let's say we run, but we run and we're like later into 2026. We're like February or March at 200K, and it does something more like this. It's a little bit more gradual, a little bit more steady. If we end up running into 2026, keep in mind that that cuts into the length of the bear market, right? So this bear market was 364 days. This bear market was 364 days. Every one of our bear markets have been a year in duration. 3 years up, 1 year down, 4 years from the last cycle. That's every cycle up to this point. So what happens if we run and actually extend a little bit into 2026? Well, if we peak at like March of 2026, that's only a 238-day bear market. And if that's the case, what I think happens, we have this bear market, it comes back down. But then I think that what follows on the upside is pretty much something like this. A quick blow off top. We're going to be peaking on the left side of the mid-range. It will be a left translated cycle because keep in mind, we can go another 4 years from this and it'll be, another 1,450 days. You can keep this pattern going as far as you want indefinitely. But here's the thing. Here's our next cycle. We have the rest of this bull market. We don't know where we're going to top, whether it's the end of the year, whether it's a little bit into 2026. But if we top at the end of the year, then most likely we follow a normal 4-year cycle. If we run into 2026, there's a really high likelihood that this next run ends up being the blow off top. And we end up peaking on the left side of the mid-range, which is once again 725 days over. So that's what we're looking for in this next cycle. I honestly have leaned towards the belief that not this cycle would be left translated, but the following one after. And I still kind of lean towards that. So, realistically, is the 4-year cycle dead? Of course not. How else would we have perfectly bottomed 4 years from the last, 4 years from the last, and so on and so forth? It just wouldn't happen if the 4-year cycle was dead. However, oh my God, I just explained that whole freaking thing and I'm not even looking at the freaking chart. Wow. That sucks. Whatever. Good Lord, man. That is ridiculous. Where is God? Okay. Here's what I just did for you guys, and it was for no reason. I just mapped the whole thing out. All right, if you guys want a good explanation, go watch my last live stream. Oh, Lord, I'm sorry. That sucks. Whatever. God, I'm not even smoking weed or nothing. I'm drinking a beer, but it's only one beer. That's crazy. You tried to warn me, but I don't see the comments until I come over onto this page. But yeah, this is the chart. Doesn't it make perfect sense? Oh, that sucks really bad. Oh, whatever. I just talked for like 15 minutes straight, too. Trump puts in new Fed chair. He drops rates to near zero. Risk assets rip. I mean, they're cutting rates this month. I mean, that's just all a lot of like, I mean, you're just guessing. What is this based on? Why is that spring of 2026? So you're saying, okay, I read it wrong. So you're saying spring of 2026, you believe that the real cycle is going to start running? See, I believe that the very max we peak in spring of 2026, and that's worst case scenario if we have drags into the following year, which is going to lead us to a left translated cycle, which would be the ending of the 4-year cycle. So there's no way in hell we're running past spring of 2026, especially not getting some magical second leg. I really don't think that's going to be the case. But we're going to have to see ultimately. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that the 4-year cycles are the only thing we can really trust because it's the only thing that's been accurate up to this point, I've seen you explain this enough times. I could see the whole thing. Yeah, exactly. I know a lot of you guys already feel that way. It's because of hair. Your brains extends to it. Isn't that what the Native Americans believe? It's an extension of your nervous system. Spring 2026 would be a weird 4-year cycle. It would. But that's what I mean. If we peak in spring of 2026, that basically opens the door for the following cycle to be a left translation. Let me see if I can pull up Bob Lucas's video real quick, and I'll just share with you guys the exact chart. Or no, I think he posted it on Twitter real quick. Okay, if we come over to Bob Lucas. This is it. Okay. So this is what I'm talking about. Every 4 years, we're bottoming exactly 4 years from the last, which is indicated also by this sine wave graph thing. I don't know what it's called exactly, but same thing. Every 4 years, every 4 years, every 4 years. So our next projected 4-year cycle low is going to be the ending of 2026. That's going to be 4 years from November of 2022 when we bottomed, right? So that's what we're looking for. Now, where we're at right now is in the very latter stages, right before you get that final peak, right? Week 33, week 35, week 35, week 37, week 30. We don't know for sure, but it's all right around, 3 years up from the bottom. And that's been the case. But once again, you're not analyzing a cycle from the peaks. You're analyzing from the bottom. The thing that can shift is the peaks, right? So we're going to be looking at this final push into Q4, wherever that is, 160, 200, 250. We don't know. Depends all entirely how euphoric the cycle gets. But then what we're going to end up seeing is another 1-year bear market and a decline back down, right? And what could potentially happen here is if this part runs a little bit deeper into 2026, that presents a lot more of, it gives us a lot more of, well, how am I trying to say this? It basically, let me articulate myself. If we end up running into 2026, it gives us a little bit more of a likelihood scenario where we end up running into a left translated cycle, right? So instead of having a normal 3-year up, it's only like 1.5 years to 2 years up. And that up is really quick and really sudden, right? And that's what's indicated right here. This is your normal cycle. We just peak a little bit into 2026 like this shows. Then you have the bear market low. You're still buying the bear markets the same. You're still looking at the 4-year cycle low. That's the thing that doesn't change. But then what follows after, if we run into 2026, is most likely going to be that really quick blow off top of the left translated cycle. Now, what happens after? Because keep in mind, 37 weeks, 35 weeks, 35 weeks, 37 weeks, 20 weeks. It only took 20 weeks to go from the cycle low to the cycle top. That's what you're going to see in a left translation. It's going to happen quicker. It's going to be a much shorter impulse. And then that's kind of the blow off top of the cycle. And then look what happens after. You're talking back-to-back 4-year cycles below the prior all-time high of a trend, which we can look at the NASDAQ as being a perfect example of what that looks like when we're talking, you know, the long-term basis. Because in my opinion, what Bitcoin will do is probably what the NASDAQ did after the internet bubble, right? There's the internet bubble, great big blow off top. Here's 2000 when we invaded Iraq and the internet bubble popped and we came all the way back down. So basically what he's pointing out is that we would have that bear market decline. We would have the bottom of the 4-year cycle, but then that 3-year uptrend is where we only make a lower high. We don't even make a new all-time high. Whereas all of the other cycles, the 3-year up is when we go into the next new all-time high. We would have a 3-year uptrend that just makes this little teeny lower high. And then we would start the next bear market, have another 1-year bear market. And then this would be 4 years from the last 4-year cycle low. And it would just be a great big, like decade long accumulation before Bitcoin built up enough steam to start a new cycle like this, right? That's what we're looking at here. We're looking at the repeat of the internet bubble. What the hell? Did I really not share the chart again? I clicked the button. I got something going on with my stuff right here because it's not sharing when I click it. So this is what I meant by the NASDAQ fractal. Basically, you'd have the 1-year bear market after the true blow off top. This would be the left translation when everything goes crazy. You'd have that big decline, that 1-year bear market. And then for 3 years, it's just making this lower high, right? It's not really doing a heck of a lot. And then you have the ending of the 3-year up. That bear market flashes again, the 1-year cycle that we see. We peak, we come back down, and then this is 4 years from the last bear market low. But we're just inside of this decade-long accumulation. This is true despair. This is hell on earth. This is Satan slapping you in the face just every day for months and, well, for years and years, a whole decade. That is literally what is going to happen, in my opinion. And like, that's what we're getting ready for next. I think that this cycle is going to play out the same. Depending on where we peak, that determines what the following cycle is going to look like. If we run into 2026, chances are we're going to have a left translated cycle. If we have a left translated cycle, this is what it's going to turn into over the course of the next 10, 15 years. So that's what I think is going to end up playing out. Show us the bubbler. I threw everything away. I don't have anything anymore. I quit. Wouldn't it be best to just DCA the entire time every month? I don't know what you mean exactly. DCA the entire time of what? The bear market? I don't think so, because we know, I mean, the bear market lows are the things that you target. You're buying in the bear market low to bear market low. So you're just waiting 4 years until, 4 years from the last bear market low. So you would buy, let's say, October, November, December. Those would be the 3 months that you average into the bear market low. You wouldn't want to average in from the peak and just go every month buy in. If you want to, I mean, honestly, that strategy just seems like the easy way to go if you don't know what you're doing. But if you feel confident in the 4-year cycle, I would just wait until basically month 8, month 7, probably month 8. And then from there, I would just take the next 3 or 4 months just to dollar cost average into the low. I wouldn't be doing it the entire bear market down. I definitely wouldn't be doing that, because there's just no reason to, in my opinion, because you can get close enough to the bear market low without having to, buy the peaks of it at the same time. Yo, good to go. Good to have you in here, my friend. You're usually always in these streams. Depends on your time horizon. If your time horizon is 20 years, sure. Yeah, I mean, if you want to hold something 20 years, but I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know if you're talking about like the next bear market or when it goes sideways for a decade. I need a little bit more detail to give you like a really good answer. DCA monthly, small amounts. I mean, I'm not DCAing in the bull market ever. I'm doing the opposite. I'm pulling money out of the bull market. I don't see what the point of DCAing in the bull market is, because you're almost just on the wrong side of the trend at that point. You DCA in the bottom of the bear market, and then you scale out when the market goes back up into new all-time highs. So I don't know why you'd want to DCA when the market was going up. Oh, yeah, DCA in the bear market. How many people in the chat around here? How many people in the chat round trip their bags from last cycle? Plenty of us. I've round tripped enough bags that I'm not even gonna make fun of anybody. It happens. What's your estimate? Usually when the business cycle finally tick up, we will push for 6 to 12 months. It's yet to tick up. I don't know what the business cycle is. I trade 4-year cycles, so I don't really know what you're talking about exactly. What do you think about them too, and interest rates and its relations to the SIG pump? Well, I mean, Bitcoin follows the M2. Risk investments follow the M2. Cutting interest rates is always signaled a run in crypto. So, I mean, I think it's very likely. Realistically, if they cut rates, I think that is the thing that pumps the markets. We got to hope for that, because, you know, we really have lagged super, super late into this cycle as far as altcoin season, right? I've been following you for years. Remember when the bear market took you by surprise? Yeah, exactly. It did, because I was looking for that final blow off top. You can't have those biases. If you have those biases, you can't counter trade them, because you're only focused in on that bias. And if you're focused in on the bias, it's just going to cost you money. And that's why I say going into this cycle, if we're in price discovery and we're at the end of the year, I'm selling. I don't care. I'm not repeating any of the same mistakes ever. You know, definitely learn from those. Thoughts on the adoption cycle instead of 4-year cycle? I don't know what that is either. I trade 4-year cycles, guys. I don't know what all this other stuff is. Like I said, it's the same thing. Like, I don't follow other analysts. I don't listen to other people. Like, I follow the 4-year cycle. I don't follow anything else, because there's one way I make money, and I don't need anything else, because it's ultimately going to make my way of making money more complex than it needs to be. So I'm not trying to follow all this other stuff, all these other indicators and whatnot. There's one indicator that works. It's literally 3 lines on a chart, and it's perfectly followed it. Like, we don't need to overcomplicate things, guys. We really don't. It's so simple. The more simple you make it, the more profit you're going to make. I feel like everybody's always focused on too many things at once, and that's the reason nobody makes profit. At this point, I think Jerome has no reason to cut the rates. Yeah, I agree. No, for sure. I don't know. It's hard to say exactly. If they cut rates, I mean, we're just going to print more money, and then we're going to have more inflation in 4 years down the line, and we're just going to be in the same situation. It's all we're doing is repeating the 1920s over again. All they did in the 1920s was figure out, hey, if we turn this money printer on and inject liquidity into our economy, all the prices of everything go up, and it actually stimulates the economy, encourages more people to go out and build businesses, buy houses, all of that stuff. And it actually outperforms the rate of inflation. So even though there's inflation, people are actually making more money. And that was what happened throughout the 1920s until we peaked. We're just doing the same thing. And at this point, they know that they don't have a choice. They got to keep printing money just to keep the Ponzi going. So it's a little different, because those guys didn't even know what was going on back then. They just started the Federal Reserve in, like, what was it, 1919 or something like that? 1912, actually, I think is when it was. But either way, yeah. I don't remember what I was going to say, but that. People expecting the old retail lead market when the market is led by institutions. We need to buy infrastructure projects, real investment projects, from my opinion, not the speculative assets. I mean, isn't it all speculative assets? Like, what is actually infrastructure? Like, how do we know? I think it's all kind of a speculation right now. But you know, like, I'm not disagreeing with you either. Buy the ones that are actually doing things, the Ethereums, the XRPs, whatever. I agree with you there. But at the same time, I do disagree to a point. I'll play devil's advocate here. Most of the hype has been driven around speculative plays that have nothing to do with utility. And I've made more money off of those than I have anything utility this cycle. So, I don't think we should overlook those meme coins and those funny things either, like the NFTs. I'm actually really bought into a lot of that stuff. So I see both sides for sure. But I mean, the institutional cycle is here, and they're buying Bitcoin, and like 2 have bought Ethereum. So like Bitcoin is the institutional coin. They're really, altcoins suck, guys. Altcoins are stupid. There's no point in them. 99% of them are going to go to zero. Like after this cycle, I'm only buying Bitcoin. I'm not trading altcoins anymore. Well, I might like trade them for fun, but like long-term investing in altcoins, I'm not doing that. I don't think it's worth the risk. If you want to buy an asset that's worth money, I think the Bitcoin is the only thing that has real long-term money, like wealth, because it's the only thing that is, technically money, I guess you could say. The other ones are infrastructure, but ETH sucks. ETH is garbage. Like ETH literally doesn't work, and everything is back to ETH. So if ETH doesn't work out, what happens? There's just too much what ifs there. I don't want to mess with that. Like Bitcoin is the thing. The NSA created it. They created all the patents for what make Bitcoin Bitcoin. We don't know who this Satoshi Nakamoto feller is. Like, give me a break. Like, for sure, whoever is running and pulling the strings, the banks, the Jews, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, these people running the world, Bitcoin is the thing. It's not any of the other ones. Do I think that there's going to be a few others? For sure, there will. But I'm not trying to speculate on that because I know Bitcoin is the one. So I don't really care about so much of the other stuff. Like all I really want to focus on is making my profit this cycle, taking my profit out of the market, even if I'm selling not at the exact top. I don't care. When I have that cash, we're going to watch as the market burns and everybody goes and, wants to die because they've lost all their money. And we're going to buy the bottom of that dip. And we're not going into ETH. We're not going into Solana. We're not going into XRP. We're not going into NFTs. We're not going into AI. We're going into Bitcoin. And I am a Bitcoin maxi. This cycle has basically encouraged me to fully take that path, which is funny because I was the opposite of that. But man, I really think that Bitcoin was created by the powers that be. I don't know what that even means, but there's 3 core pieces of technology that make Bitcoin. 2 of them were patented by the NSA in the 90s. If you look at Bitcoin, everything is a public ledger. Wouldn't it make sense that the people that run the banks that want to be able to track everything inside of the government, wouldn't it make sense that they would make a public ledger that can be tracked and traced from the very beginning of time, every transaction in the history? Wouldn't it make sense that they would create something like that? Yeah. But that was why I went all into crypto, was because of that reason. I thought, well, shit, dude, if these guys are building the entire new system, they want to control everybody. They want everything to be digital. The only way we can have a one world government, a one world economy and all of that is to have a one world currency. The only way a one world currency works is if it's digital. So there's a lot of, all of these reasons are why I went all into Bitcoin. It was in the 2018 bear market that I learned this. I looked at where the patents came for Bitcoin, saw the NSA created them. And then I thought to myself, oh, gee, nobody knows who Satoshi is. Is he really this libertarian freedom fighter that's going to be anti-bank? No, Satoshi was probably Jewish, if I had to guess. I got a dog here on the floor sleeping. Let's see. That's consensus. Next cycle, alts will run early. Everyone has became a Bitcoin maxi from this cycle. The alts will run hard soon, and it will remind everyone the power of alts. I mean, you can trade that idea if you want, but I'm not. I'm definitely not. 1000% not. And I don't think this cycle has shown anybody that altcoins are dead, considering I've made a bunch of money off of Fartcoin. And I made a lot of money off some stupid stuff this cycle. So the idea that altcoins are dead, I don't know where you're getting that belief, because I don't think so at all. I mean, realistically, it's the dumbest of altcoins that are making people money. It's the ones that do real things that aren't doing anything. So, You know, I honestly don't think that's the case even slightly. But, you know, if that is the case, if everybody, if sentiment does shift that way, and if I feel like sentiment is shifting that way, then yeah, we probably would have a big altcoin run. And realistically, if we're looking at a blow off top in Bitcoin, it would make sense that altcoins would run inside of that period too. But man, every cycle, it's always led by Bitcoin. And I think that that's still going to be the case. But also the charts will express themselves. They will show, you know, we'll be able to obviously see where money is rotating. And so assuming we buy Bitcoin in the earlier portion of the cycle and we see things really start to rocket, we're going to see the altcoin charts start to flash buy signals. We're going to see all the same stuff, but Bitcoin always leads. So I think that you're still better off selling this cycle. When you sell, go into cash. When you go into cash, wait for the year-long bear market. At the end of that year, talking 3 months left, start dollar cost averaging with your cash pile into Bitcoin. And then after that Bitcoin, and then once Bitcoin starts going, we're going to know which altcoins are going to run. We're going to know which ones are picking or catching a bid. And then there's no reason why you can't rotate some of that Bitcoin into the altcoins, because that's the way it's worked every time. The issue is when we go into the bear market and we start buying altcoins first. That's the one thing I think is silly. And that's the reason why so many people miss out on profit, including myself. We need to focus on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the driver of value, and it always has been. And I don't think that that is going to change. I don't find next cycle, even if we go into a left translation and a blow off top, I don't think it's going to be an altcoin that's leading the charge. I think that it's going to be led by Bitcoin, and then altcoins rise with the rising tide, right? It lifts all ships. That's what I think happens. I'm not saying altcoins are completely dead, because I still think that we can have a run, especially when we're talking a real blow off top on a 20-year Bitcoin trend. You know, we're going to see some euphoria going around, but we're going to see, guys. We really are going to see. I would love to be wrong on the altcoin thesis. Chances are this cycle isn't the ending of altcoins. I do lean towards that belief, but I'm not going to be buying into altcoins in the bear market low. That's my main point, right? I'm just not going to try and take that much risk. Feels like the days of reading white papers and actually caring about stuff is dead. People want stupid brain dead zero thinking plays, which resembles society. Amen to that. But I feel them. All I care about is the money with this stuff anymore. I mean, I got into crypto literally behind the libertarian movement of Bitcoin. That was why I got into Bitcoin in 2016. It was, I dropped out of high school. And I remember when I was in high school, I learned about the Federal Reserve. Well, it was after I dropped out. I dropped out and I knew that I needed to figure out what I was going to do with my life. I needed to figure out how to make money. I needed to figure out, you know, what path I was going to take. So the first thing I did, I thought to myself, what do I want? Like, out of a career, what is the thing that I want? And the thing that I wanted most was money. I wanted to be rich. I didn't care about nothing else. I just wanted to be rich. Obviously, I have morals. I'm not going to go freaking sell drugs or something stupid. But realistically, I just wanted to have a lot of money. And so the first thing I did was go to YouTube and I typed in, what is money? And I just started learning about what money was. And then I learned about gold and silver, which is money. And then I learned what currency was. And through currency, I learned what the Federal Reserve was. And when I learned about the Federal Reserve, that was when I realized that the entire system was a scam. And it was, you know, maybe a few months later that I hung out with my buddy Dallin Anderson at High Altitude Investing. He showed me the chart of Bitcoin, and he explained that Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer payment system. It's decentralized. It can't be shut down by banks. It actually cuts out the bank entirely. And I remember hearing all this, just thinking, oh my gosh, this is the thing. Like, this is it. Like, this is something that I believe in, like from a political stance, from a fundamental point. Like, I really believed in Bitcoin. But then it was the 2018 bear market when I started doing digging, and I learned that the NSA basically patented Bitcoin. And then I thought to myself, well, you know, why is this Satoshi fella just hiding behind closed doors? Why isn't he coming out and saying who he is? And then that was when I was like, all right, this is all too good to be true. For sure, someone's in on this, and it's the government to some extent. I don't know what that means. It's probably, I'm not saying the US government, but you're talking about whoever the heck runs the world probably created Bitcoin. And I don't know what that is, but it's for all of those reasons that I've really felt like Bitcoin is the one thing, but we've distanced ourselves from that. I don't even believe in Bitcoin anymore. I believe Bitcoin is the thing that enslaves everybody because it's going to make everything tracked and traced. You're not going to be able to pay anybody under the table. The neighborhood kid comes over to mow your lawn. You're not going to be able to just pay him some cash and not have to say something about that to the IRS. Everything is going to be on the blockchain, and you will never be able to hide from it. And then when they roll out social credit scores, like what they're already doing in China, I mean, they can literally shut off your accounts, and it's digital. Like, they will do it, and it's going to happen. And that's why I feel more so than ever before, I'm anti crypto to the max. I believe in this stuff none. Like, for the betterment of humanity, for the goodness of the world, crypto is the worst thing in the world that's ever going to happen to us. Unless we adopt Monero or like Zcash or some anonymous private coin that the government and the NSA could never spy on me, then yeah, but we're not. That's never going to happen. Never once. No way in the world. They're going to adopt the worst thing, which is Bitcoin. They're going to make that the payment system. And even if it's not like the everyday coin we use, it will be like gold of the digital world. And I mean, we're just at that point where they're going to rush in, they're going to roll in this new system. We're going to roll into the one world government, because that's just the way that this is going to be trending towards. And it makes sense. I mean, it doesn't make sense that we're going to go any other direction besides that. So those are my beliefs. I don't really believe in this stuff. I'm just here to make money, because I feel like for me, the one thing I can control is if I have money, I can help my family, I can help my friends. For the people that aren't going to have enough, when we have record inflation, when we're about to inherit a real estate collapse, when we're about to inherit a stock market collapse, all of these things, the one thing I can guarantee is I can buy food, I can buy land, I can buy books and resources for how to do things that I need to. I can get animals, I can learn how to train animals and use them. I can build tools. I can do things like farm. Those are the things that actually matter. Those are the things you don't learn in school. And, all of that is designed for a reason. When this market collapses, everybody's too reliant upon the system. Nobody knows how to grow their own food. Nobody knows how to do anything. Do you know how to purify water? Like, almost nobody knows how to do anything that actually matters if we have to just live like normal people. So for me, it's like the one thing I can control is how much money I get. And I know for a fact I can help my family out. And I know for a fact my family isn't in the position, most of them, some of them are, but I know for a fact most of my family just doesn't understand what I understand, and they don't see it coming. And that's fine. I'm not, I can tell them, I can show them, but whatever. When it happens, I have to be the one that's going to be there to pick up the pieces and put it back together. So that's the only reason I'm in crypto. I don't believe in this stuff anymore. I really don't. Not at all. It's the worst thing that's going to happen to humanity. But the one thing you can do is make a lot of money, and you can use that money for the things that are important. And that's what we need to focus on here. So, I mean, everybody has their own opinion on that. But I think the one thing we can kind of get behind is that, this system is failing and we are moving towards a new system. Now, the question is this system good, or is this system going to be bad? I lean towards bad. But, some of you guys are going to have the opposite perspective. You guys are going to believe that this is actually a good thing. And I'm open to those same ideas and potentials, and I've also considered them in the same ways. But I'm going to be honest, guys, I really just kind of lean towards the idea that that's just not going to be the case. I think that this stuff is going to be kind of bad. So, I just rambled for a long time. Let's look at some of these questions. Greatest documentary ever about money is on YouTube called Money Masters. Goes through history all the way up until now. You will realize how much of history is garbage, lies, manipulation. Amen. All of history is lies. It's told by the winner, and the winner is the liar. So, man, it's actually crazy what people think is true versus what's really true. And true is obviously I guess a personal assumption at this point, because what is really true, everybody's going to have their own ideas about what that is too. CBDCs are the worst for sure. It's going to be terrible. All of this stuff's going to get rolled out in mass, and you will have to own up to it. And that's just the way they will cut you out of the system. You will not be able to transact. You will not be able to do what you need to with your money, help out your family, unless you adopt this new system. And that's just the way it goes. Unless you're just going to go live out in the sticks somewhere. But, I don't know how many people are willing to go do that. I want to do that. I want to have a bunch of money so I can just go live in the sticks, honestly. I kind of do live in the sticks already. We need to see institutions get in. Retail currently is mostly about high risk shit coins and memes. That's what retail is always about. The narrative has to shift. We have to see the shifting point go into, like, remember DeFi summer in the last cycle? Everybody shifted into DeFi. But once again, DeFi is a really great thing. Like, DeFi is the thing that's like, you know, where we've always viewed the financial system going into decentralized finance. But if you look, if you were there trading DeFi summer, it was literally food tokens, yams, like yield farming tokens that were just Ponzi schemes. That was it. They're all scams. Like, it doesn't, there's always going to be some narrative that spins off based on utility. Oh, this project did this. But then out of that, the narrative spawns all of the worthless bullcrap. So the narrative itself is the thing that we're following. The utility doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I mean, if you're looking to get if you're trying to buy XRP, then yeah, the utility mattered. That's why we bought it, right? We were investing into these things knowing that, hey, these guys are way more official, way more partnerships, way more established in the modern world. We figured that they would get adoption. That's why you invest into those for the long term. But when you're trading the cycle, when the narrative spins off and creates a lot of price appreciation, the stuff that's driving the narrative is always the same as a meme. You know, yams, pizza coin, all of those from the last cycle, those yield farming tokens, they were all scams. They were basically memes. There really wasn't a difference. So now seeing memes just running, I mean, it's all the same stuff. Retail doesn't care about anything but making money. They're not going to, retail doesn't know about blockchain technology. They don't know about the XRP ledger and, oh, look at the Bitcoin Lightning Network. They don't know anything about that, and they don't care. That none of that matters. If you're trying to make money, just buy the stuff and hold it, because once retail shows up, they just throw money everywhere. You know, we can't focus too much on the utility plays, even though I think that buying into the utility early is the safer strategy. In the peak of the euphoria, you generally see the majority of the profit rotate into the, you know, sketchier things. So it's hard to say exactly. We're just going to have to watch and see. But, you know, once again, don't hate on the memes. Don't hate on them. There's money to be made here in the same ways that there's a lot of money to be made in the utility plays. Both of them have their value and place. It's just that, you know, I understand if you don't want to buy the meme coins. Like, I really do understand. So I was against it for a really long time. But for the most part, I just finally got past that and thought to myself, you know what? If there's all this money to be made, I'm trading the charts based off of these things. I don't really care about anything else. So for those reasons, I thought that, you know, might as well jump in and entertain the ideas. But in the same way, in DeFi summer, I was still buying random shit coins. Nothing changed there. You're still just kind of speculating. I just follow where money goes. I don't care if it's a utility token. I don't care if it's a meme coin, if it's an NFT. I just want to make the most money possible. And I'm not going to shut any doors from me being able to trade something that's silly, because I've missed out on a lot of really good opportunities just by thinking in that way. I remember I could have bought CryptoPunks for 10 grand a piece in the last cycle. And I remember sitting there thinking, I mean, I had plenty of money to buy one. $10,000 wasn't that crazy for me to be able to put into a coin at the time, because I was putting them into other altcoins. But my thought was, why would I buy this thing when there's the utility coin? And I was going out and buying legitimate projects. You know, it wasn't like I was trying to speculate really heavy. And I missed out on so much profit just by not being willing to like entertain that idea. And so I've changed script a little. I've changed my perspective, flipped the script a little bit, and I've moved towards the idea that as long as I can make money off of it, I don't care what it is. And I mean, okay, there's morals there too, obviously. But when it comes to crypto, you guys get what I'm talking about. Shout out for, thank you. Shout out AJS. Thank you so much for the donation. Bought first XRP in 2017. Crypto has turned into a complete net negative for society. Scams, hopium, brain rot. No one cares about anything real. They don't. They really don't. But the reason I got to that point was because I felt like crypto became the thing that it like, if you've watched Star Wars, that part where Obi-Wan Kenobi is like looking at Anakin as Anakin is cut up, is missing his arms and legs, and he's burning into the lava pit on Mustafar. And Obi-Wan's like, you were supposed to be the chosen one. You were supposed to bring balance to the Force and destroy the Sith, not join them. That's what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is Anakin Skywalker. Bitcoin and crypto is Darth Vader. And the people here that see this are basically Obi-Wan Kenobi, and that's what we're really getting ready for. Like, all of the tangibility of what crypto was going to create disappeared. Everybody just became interested in the making money aspect. But even the people that were here, like me, that were in the early days of Bitcoin, that really believed in like the libertarian movement of the anti-bank, I just realized that Bitcoin is the thing that the banks want. Like, it's the control of the financial system. It's the thing they've been waiting for all this time. So, you know, I'm right there with you. It really sucks, but I don't think there's anything else we can really do about it besides just kind of hold through. Like I said, the one thing that you can control is how much money you make, to an extent. So make as much money as you can. And if you have ideas about the world, if you have things that you want to do, if you have people you want to help, go and help those people and do the thing, because that's the one thing that you can at least say that, you know, you went out and did, or whatever. Yo, shout out Zenith. I appreciate the support. I really do. It's good to have you in here. Honestly, I'm going to jump off here. I've been going for quite a while. It's getting fairly late. My girlfriend just called me too, but I really do appreciate you guys' support. Wanted to jump on here just for a quick little live stream. Shout out for everybody that's been commenting. Bitmonger Asia, I've kind of been a little bit of a stickler on some of your comments, but I do appreciate that you've came out here and you've actually talked, and, you know, you've asked questions, and you've been, you know, straightforward with everything, because I appreciate anybody that's willing to come in here and talk, share our thoughts, comments, perspectives, because at the end of the day, I don't know everything. You guys know a lot. I learn a lot from you guys, and I really like just being able to do this for you guys. So thank you so much for the support. I will be back on Monday, probably. If I will upload tomorrow, but after tomorrow, I'll be back Monday. If I don't make my PulseChain update tomorrow, for sure the first of next week, I'll teach you guys how to buy everything. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I will catch you guys in the next one. As always, peace out.